So a couple days ago, I was in Toronto. I was speaking at an annual event of Strategic Coach. And Strategic Coach, a lot of us we know about Strategic Coach. I think it's the biggest high-level coaching program in the world, created by Dan Sullivan and Bab Smith. And Dan is really, really amazing. I think he's 82 years old. I know him now for like 12 years, and every year that I see him, he gets younger and wiser and more ambitious. So he's really, really cool. And it was an honor for me to speak at the annual event of Strategic Coach. Just the last couple of months, I spoke at annual events from Genius Network and now the annual event of Strategic Coach. And it's an honor, and it's very special to me as well, because those guys, they used to be my heroes and they still are my heroes. Joe Polish, Dan Sullivan, a lot of other people that were my heroes are now really good friends. And I think that's something really magical in life. They oftentimes say, you don't want to meet your heroes, because what we often realize whenever we meet our heroes are one of the two things. One is we realize that they're not that special, or maybe they're actually disappointing. Or maybe those are the two things. One is they're disappointing, they're not great human beings, or they're not that special, as in like they're normal people as well. They have to poop and pee and all those things as well. And I think it's actually amazing to really learn that from people that you really look up to, that are your heroes. To realize like, oh, they're human beings as well, and they have their issues and their struggles and their way of living and their way of being. And I think it's actually empowering to figure out and see that somebody is sort of normal, which makes us feel like, oh, if they can do it, then we can do it as well. And but that's not what this video is about. It was interesting. It was a 2-day event, and Dan came on stage in the beginning of the event and at the end of the event. And so I think in total he might have talked for like 2 hours. He might have spoke on stage for 2 hours, or maybe even 90 minutes total, because there's a bunch of other speakers, including myself and Dean Jackson and a lot of great people. And in the beginning, I wasn't really present with his first presentation. I heard the words, and obviously I listened, and I was doing the exercises. But for whatever reason, my son was in my system. I have 3 kids, 8, 10, and 13, and my middle kid, his name is Otis, he was in my system. And I was just thinking about him and thinking about certain things. And if you have children, once in a while, some of the kids, they take up more mental bandwidth than other kids. And in this case, like, I was just thinking about him, and I hadn't seen my kids for like 7 days or 9 days, because I had to speak in Orlando. And they got back from Austin, back to Amsterdam like 7 days or 9 days earlier. So I was just thinking about him, and I wasn't really present. And honestly, I had some worries. And as a parent, it's just part of parenting, is that sometimes you actually worry about certain things. So I had some worries and some ideas and some thoughts, and for whatever reason, it was so interesting. Dan got on stage, and it's a fairly big event. It's 400 super high-level entrepreneurs. I mean, most entrepreneurs who are in Strategic Coach, they're very high level. And they're oftentimes just looking for more freedom, not necessarily also more growth in business, but overall like more freedom as an entrepreneur. And Dan is really a master in helping entrepreneurs achieve more freedom while also growing the business. And so there's 400 entrepreneurs. I hadn't seen Dan before the event, so the first time I saw him in Orlando was him being on stage. And I'm thinking about my son, and all of a sudden, out of the blue, he starts to talk about my son. And he starts to share with the audience about that he met Otis, and that they had a really interesting conversation, that when Dan was 8 years old, he sort of like figured out that all other 8-year-olds, they were kind of useless because they don't have a lot of life stories, and he was more inspired by people with a story and asked them about their history and everything. And I thought, well, this was so interesting. It's so interesting to, and I experience this stuff all the time. If you would ask me about last month, it's been such an interesting month in so many ways, and there's been so many, I don't know, maybe even nudges by God, like, dude, wake up, or this is a sign. And this was, for me, it was a sign, and it immediately sort of like removed or resolved a lot of the worries that I had in this moment. Like, okay, this is just a sign of the universe. Like, okay, even like, I don't know, it was just a very special moment. And it's not what this video is about. Um, so that was the first talk he gave. And then during those 2 days, there was other amazing speakers, including yours truly. And I really had an amazing time. I spoke for 90 minutes, and I spoke to those entrepreneurs and gave them a lot of new, fresh ideas on how to create more white space. I love working with highly successful entrepreneurs or successful entrepreneurs and make them, or not make them because they have to do it themselves, but transition from successful to highly successful. And for me, the difference between successful and highly successful is, okay, successful is you make a lot of money, and you might have a lot of freedom or maybe not, and you make a cool impact and things are really cool. And highly successful is, okay, you're winning on all categories. So you have peace of mind, and you're inspired, and you're creative, and you're prolific, and you have an amazing like health and maybe love life and all those things. So I really feel that we as entrepreneurs, and this was sort of like the topic, is we have this magic wand, and we can wave this magic wand, and we can make almost like anything possible. Going back to Dan Sullivan, he has this quote that says, "Make it up," as in think about it; make it real, as in make it happen, and then make it reoccur. Um, and that's what business is all about and life is all about. Like, we can come up with stuff, and then all of a sudden it is real, and that's really, really amazing. So I spoke about white space, how to get more white space, how to create more freedom. And it was interesting because I spoke at this event, and they actually called me like 2 weeks prior to the event, and Babs called me. And Babs, which is the co-owner of Strategic Coach, the co-founder of Strategic Coach, she said, okay, this probably won't work, Eelco, because you're in Amsterdam and you're homeschooling, and you're traveling, and this and this and this, but we would love for you to speak at the annual event of Strategic Coach, of CoachCon. I was like, you know what, I'll get it done. I'll be there, and I'll go back a week later to Amsterdam because I have a lot of white space, and my whole calendar is almost like basically white space, and that's what I was teaching those entrepreneurs, how to create more white space. Even that is not what this video is about. It's sort of the opposite of white space, or how to actually become successful and prolific while having a lot of freedom. Because a lot of people who are who have a lot of freedom, they struggle with. Let me put it this way: a lot of people who are successful. I literally saw today that I saw a video where somebody said, like, if I have a lot of space in my calendar, I get anxious. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs, they have this belief that whenever they have more freedom, they will become less successful. So, and with this belief, if you have the belief that if you have more freedom or more space, you'll become less successful. Well, with that belief, you will stay busy for the rest of your life, and you'll never have true freedom. Could it be true that if you would be more free and have more space, that you become more successful? So, while I was teaching this topic, I was showing my calendar, and my calendar is white space only. Like, most of my weeks, and this is at this moment of recording, it's June 7th right now in 2026. Most of my weeks I have one meeting, and it's 77 minutes, and that's it. It's a 77-minute with my group entrepreneurs that I mentor, and that's it. And that's most of, I would say, like 50% of my weeks. And then the other like 40% of my weeks might be like 2 or 3 meetings, and then maybe 10% of my weeks is more busy, as in this week, because this week I'm back in Amsterdam and I'm actually doing 3 days of events, which is kind of rare. I do that twice a year or 3 times a year. So if you have a lot of white space, it actually can be very challenging to be productive, to be prolific, to be creative, especially nowadays. And that's why I wrote the book Internet Fasting. Especially nowadays, if we are connected to the internet, like, the internet will keep you busy all day, but not really productive, or not productive at all. it's funny. I was just talking to ChatGPT because that's my counselor, my psychologist, my coach. Um, I was explaining to ChatGPT that having really cool conversations with people that are really awesome can be amazing and can give you this feeling of being successful or becoming more successful. If you have a really cool conversation with somebody and you have this breakthrough during this conversation, um, that could really feel amazing. But oftentimes, the day after, we wake up as ourselves. We might change a little bit because of this conversation, but oftentimes we just wake up as ourselves and we're back into our old rhythms and old routines. So if you and I told ChatGPT this explanation, like you can like watch the most inspiring, intense, amazing workout video, or you can watch hours of those amazing workout videos. But if you don't lift the weights, you don't really grow. Well, you don't grow. And it's the same with a lot of spiritual teachings or spiritual conversations or have a deep conversations with people. Oftentimes, it's amazing in the moment, but nothing really happens. But that's not what this video is about. It is, but not really. So I am on day 2 of this event of CoachCon by Strategic Coach by Dan Sullivan. And there's 400 people in the room. And Dan does a second talk at the end of the second day. And for whatever reason, he was sharing something, and then he asked like, okay, who wants to share and go to the mic? And in that moment, I knew that he would call me out for whatever reason. And he was like, so he said, who wants to share and share on the mic? And within 1 second, he was like, Eelco, go to the mic. I was like, this is so funny because I thought of it, and all of a sudden it's real. And that's like, make it up and make it real. Like, it's practical. It's very practical. Okay, you think of something and then you create it and then it's real. But oftentimes, this is what I realize: if you are very sharp with your intuition, and I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, magic can happen. So anyway, I thought about it, and boom, he said my name, and I go to the mic, and I had to share whatever I had to share. And he was like, Eelco, like, what do you want to share? Like, what's been your rule? So we had to do an exercise, and we had to create new rules. And I attended this event with a really good friend of mine, and he is he's like crazy successful on YouTube. And he's been on YouTube since, I don't know, 2006 or 2007, 8 or whatever. And he blew up in 2012, 13, 14. So he went from like a couple thousand subscribers on his YouTube channel and getting some clients on his YouTube channel, like, because he's a trainer, to becoming like a worldwide phenomenon. He has 2 YouTube channels, and he blew up, and he went from like a couple thousand to close to like over 1 million subscribers on one channel and like 800,000 subscribers on this other channel. And yeah, he's one of the first YouTubers who actually grew to 1 million subscribers. And he was a YouTuber before the word YouTuber was invented or influencer was invented. And he's been living his life and growing businesses and doing a lot of different things. And living life is a journey. It's a big journey. And now we're 2026. He blew up in 2013, 2014. So now we're 12 years later, and he went through a lot of cycles. And he's very open about all of his cycles, no pun intended. But he's very open about all of his cycles and its ups and downs, and life happening to you. And again, coincidentally, I was in Austin 2 weeks ago, and my wife tells me like, "Oh, Elliot, he's in Austin as well. I saw it on his socials." I was like, "No shit." So I sent him a message like, "Dude, you're in Austin?" And he was like, "Yeah." So let's meet up. And so we had a couple spare hours. We went to the gym together, get a training in, and then we had a steak together. And at that time, he hadn't been uploading videos on his YouTube for like 4 or 5 months, and just the fire for him to actually record videos, it was just sort of like evaporated. It wasn't really there. I was like, yeah, why would I want to like record videos? And I know Elliot pretty well, um, and I feel that I really see him, and I think he also knows that I really see him, and he also really sees me. Like I really appreciate our friendship because it's real shit. Like we don't do like superficial. Like it's real shit. And but again, like we could have this amazing conversation, and then the day after, you wake up as yourself. So I had a conversation with Elliot 2 weeks ago. It's like, dude, you just gotta, like, you have to record videos. Like, you're the OG of making videos, and it's not that's not the reason that you have to make videos, because whatever, like, doesn't matter what you've done in the past, it is what you're gonna do now. Like, it's not that you have to live up to an image from the past, but it is your superpower. Like, your superpower is you are an amazing thinker, you have so much wisdom, and you're a philosopher, and you're an amazing speaker. And so I told Elliot, like, dude, just press record once a day. Press record once a day. And Elliot said, fuck it, I'm gonna press record. I'm just gonna press record. And I was like, well, okay. I hope he will do it. And then he started pressing record. And in the last 2 weeks, he like published a lot of really cool videos, and like long form videos, like 1 hour videos, and super open, super transparent, vulnerable, all the things, and starts to catch up, like a lot of views, and like a lot of other momentum is happening now in his life as well. And so that was like 2 weeks ago, and then a couple days ago we were both at the event for 2 days, and Dan asked me like, okay, Eelco, what do you want to share? Or what are your new rules? And I wrote down 3 rules. We had to write down 3 new rules, and one of my rules is really simple: just press record. And that's what I'm doing right now. Like, I am in a hotel lounge here. It's not super comfortable because there's people around me. Like, this is not the greatest angle. I don't have like the best audio, whatever. I'm a little bit short on time because I promised my kids to be at home at 7, and it's 7:03 already. But Elliot sent me a message yesterday like, dude, did you press record? I was like, fuck, I didn't press record. And I felt like a little bit of a hypocrite. And I told him, I said, I didn't. He's like, okay, when are you going to do it? I said, well, this weekend. And now it's 7 p.m. on a Sunday, and I had to press record. So I sort of jokingly said multiple times during this video, like, okay, it's not what this video was about. This video is about pressing record. If you are a thinker, if you're interested in having amazing conversations, if you're great at like going deep with people, if you love philosophizing, I think that's a good word, philosophizing about life, if you have a lot of wisdom to share, if you have unique perspectives, if you do it already on a daily basis, like I'm talking for hours and hours and hours every day, like me and my wife, we're talking for hours and hours and hours every day. We love to talk to each other. And then while we're talking, I'm talking, speaking, teaching, like I'm like an oracle, or I'm listening or whatever. And it's, man, the only thing you have to do is just press record. And when you press record, then you actually build your collection and you build your legacy. And it's funny, and I'll close with that in this video, is that I run this group in the Netherlands, and it's called the Latverhogers, which means bar raisers. It's a group of entrepreneurs, and they want to raise the bar in all areas of their life. And it's a really cool group. And if you become a part of this group, if you sign up, you'll have a one-on-one session with me. And so with all the bar raisers in this group, I had a one-on-one conversation, and it's a 33,000 euro investment, so it's a real investment. And two of those bar raisers came to my home. You come to my home in Amsterdam here, and we have a one-on-one conversation. And one of them said, like, Eelco, these are the things I learned from you. I learned this and this and this and this and this, but this thing really changed my life. And this thing that changed my life is Badmeester Rob. And Badmeester Rob, if you translate that back to English, it's called Swimming Teacher Rob. So it's his name. His name is Rob, and he's a swimming teacher, a one-on-one swimming teacher. And and you know, a couple years ago, I recorded a podcast. I just pressed record. I started talking about Badmeester Rob, how he saved our life, because the worst thing you can do, like the most traumatic thing you can do as a parent, is go to swimming lessons with a whole group, like with 100 kids, and it's the worst. I mean, if you're a parent and you've been through that, you know, you're traumatized, and you can't heal from that ever in your life. So in this podcast, I was sharing about, like, man, we're working now with Badmeester Rob, and like it's so much better because it's a 30-minute session. It's one-on-one. The dude is amazing, and my children, they're learning to swim actually, instead of just drowning all the time and just being also traumatized by all the other kids. So it was a random thing that I was excited about on a random Tuesday afternoon, and I record a podcast, and he's like, okay, I learned all these things from you, but Badmeester Rob, man, we actually made the transition from swimming lessons with 100 other kids to a swimming teacher and saved our life, so thank you. Then another bar raiser came to my house, and she was like, Eelco, man, I learned so much from you, I learned this and this and this, but man, you gave me one advice once, and it changed my life. And this thing was, you talked about Badmeester Rob, and I actually sent my daughter to Badmeester Rob, like literally to Badmeester Rob. And I was like, this is so interesting, because my category, my niche, it's not that I'm an expert in finding swimming teachers or swimming instructors. That's not my market. That's not my business. It's not my niche, not my category. My category is me. I am the category. I love to share what I'm experiencing, what I'm learning, where I'm growing. And I had to check. We went to a Kanye West show yesterday, and he's performing tomorrow again, and I'm in a hotel lounge. It's just, you gotta check. I saw Lil Yachty here a couple months ago. I was like, okay, he might stay at this place. And we actually have a 3-day event in this place in 2 days. Anyway, 2 people, they share with me, like, dude, I learned this and this and this and this. However, Badmeester Rob, man, that was the best advice you ever given me. And which made me realize, like, wow, if I would restrict myself to only talk about my category or talk about these kind of topics, I probably wouldn't have these 2 pretty high-end clients. And one of those clients actually extended for like 10 years, so that's a 330,000 euro deal. Maybe, I'm not 100% sure, but maybe because once I just pressed record and I was sharing about Badmeester Rob. So if it's easy for you to teach, if it's easy for you to share your ideas, if it's easy for you to share stories, if you are good at communicating, just press record. And if you press record, then every day you build a little part of your collection, a little part of your legacy, and you never know what video or what podcast or whatever content you make is going to change your life. Because one video or one piece of content can actually change your life. The right person, if they see your video, your piece of content, whatever, might be the man of your dreams or the woman of your dreams or the next CEO of your business or maybe a best friend or whatever. You never know, but oftentimes they resonate with something that is real, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Actually, it's great if it's really real and authentic. So the idea of today that I wanted to share with you is just press record. Press record more often, and if you press record more often, you never know what's going to happen. But magic will happen way more often if you actually put it out there in the world instead of keeping it to yourself.